Hello, welcome into the Cafe Nightly Show. It is late and it is the 18th still. Whoa, almost the 19th, 18th of January 2024. We are still on Thursday, like I said, almost here at the end of the day. And we did have the collection reveal or the vanilla release collection reveal in a week, but the release of expansion of Tokyo hitting today. We had some interesting takeaways when that happened. I did have Banana. I was lucky enough to have the one and only Banana on last night to talk about what to expect on this vanilla release, what to get ready for collections, how to strategize around the likely expectations of prices in different parts of the city, what we're going to look at UPX per UP2, and how to overall manage that and use that as strategy to get ready to mint the city. And we were wrong. We were very, very wrong because we were lied to. We'll get into the specifics here. Obviously, mistakes were made. Language was what language was, but we had the wrong information, so we made the wrong conclusion. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the specifics of how the city ended up going or how things look like so far, as well as a lot of the other activities that are still sitting around, still available, still to be done over the next several days. And of course, I joke about lied, but there was a mistake made. Information was put out. A lot of us operated on the wrong information. So we made the decision about whether or not to go into Tokyo based on that information or how to prepare for minting. And again, when we figured it out quickly, I changed my strategy. I pivoted. But again, my heart does go out to all those people who made the decision not to go based on facts that we seem to know at a certain point. Getting into things, of course, before we do so, all views and opinions expressed by myself are mine and mine alone. Don't take them as game strategy advice. Don't take it as financial advice. The game of Upland, the team of Upland, obviously not represented by anything I say. So do keep that in mind. And of course, any guests that we have on, any contributors, they are well within their rights to have their own opinions, own thoughts. They don't represent myself. They don't represent the team of Upland, game of Upland. Shouldn't be taken as giving game strategy or financial advice, but love to have people jump in. Tomorrow night, we'll have the one and only coach in tomorrow to talk a little bit more about some of the projects going on, Evergreen Lasher 7-8, and a few other things he's got going on at this time, some of the map assets, as well as the community overall he's working on building. So there's some interesting things to go over. Looking forward to the interview tomorrow. Try to get and try to have more focus on getting as many of these meta ventures interviews in at least once a week. So glad to have one tomorrow. It'll be fun to do so. So glad we get that out of the way. Glad we will have the opportunity to have that discussion. And the city of Tokyo expansion, kind of a couple interesting things. Again, first and foremost, one of the things that Upland did extremely well this release that they don't usually do is it gave us a few details. I'm going to jump into the announcement and the way that announcement was written so we can look a little bit at what led us all astray. And again, seeing what led us astray, we get a better idea of where we wanted to be. So getting started here, taking a quick look. Let me get my share screen up so I can actually take a peek at it. But we did have a announcement on this a couple days ago. Announcement was meant to give us a little bit of excitement about all the other things that are happening tangential to and around the city release. It is nice that we have this city release that's more than just some properties to go out and mint, that there is an incentive to mint at a certain time. There's some gamification. There's some competition. There is a huge prize. That was all contained in the announcement. Along with that announcement, there was some information on what to expect when we got into minting. And let's take a look at some of those details. Obviously, we know 16,000 properties, 30 neighborhoods, 4 collections. Great. That was nice. That gives us an idea. We know that there's not going to be a billion properties. Now let's look at pricing. The low price is 17,393 UPIX. High price, 818,000 UPIX. And average 64,152. It looks like they might have even got to a chance to alter this a little bit since. But what we're looking at is we were told that the lowest price in the city is 17,373 UPIX. This was taken as, hey, look, this is going to be an expensive city. Know what that is. Get ready for, if you don't have 17,393 UPIX, you're probably not going to get a property. High, that tells us that there's not going to be a property in the city above 818,000 UPEX. That makes sense. And telling us the average price is 64,152 tells us that, you may be able to get a property cheaper, but maybe you're going to end up in a range of about 65,000 UPEX if you want to end up with a single property. Maybe you get a cheaper one, maybe you get a more expensive one, but don't plan on getting a ton of properties with 150,000 UPEX. Moral of the story, that was all wrong. And again, there's no reason for this data without context. That saying low, high, average, and then saying that low is a range, so the low properties in the city, not explaining how they decide what low is, not deciding how they said what the average, quote unquote, average property range is, not explaining what high property range means. Nobody had any context, and Upland expected us to do so or to know. Again, that's why it's not a lie. To joke up front there, wasn't a lie, wasn't an intent to mislead. It was just somebody putting a approximate symbol between the word low and 17,393, meaning that we were supposed to know that there was a bunch of properties that Upland somehow decided this is the low range, and the mean of that low range is 17,393. That there's this high range, and the mean of that is 818,000. So we're going to say that the high range is going to be about 818,000, and the average of 64,001 to 52,000. We're supposed to know that. Keep in mind that the approximate symbol is not meant to intonate and denote average. So we didn't really know what average. We didn't really know that approximate meant average. By saying approximate, we took that the lowest one, 17,393, with Upland saying maybe we're off by a couple UPEX. With them saying the average price in the city, having an approximate average makes sense because you don't know the exact average. Maybe they're not taking some into consideration. Maybe they think that it might shift a little bit if one property doesn't or does get added into the list, or doesn't or does pass their final QC of what gets included. It all made sense. I was ready for properties to be about 500 UPX per UP2 and up, and was very surprised when we got in the city. In a way, pleasantly, it was very nice that I was able to mint more properties than I expected to mint, but I may have made a different decision if I had a better feeling or knew what this number meant. Again, given the context, given the way it was listed, there was no way. If you're looking at the shared screen here on YouTube, you'll see 17,393 UPEX. There's no indication that this is a average or a mean of a group of numbers. There's no indication that this high number is an average or a mean of a group of numbers. Using the word average, I took that to mean a mean of the overall city. Again, whether or not that was a conclusion that was made by myself, it was a conclusion that most people in the community seem to have made as well. So I would think it's a pretty clear, easy interpretation for someone reading this information to make. And again, the takeaway, the be all end all is let's be more clear on this team if we can in the future. And I loved it. I love the concept of giving this more data. I love the idea of Upland telling us, hey, if they had intentionally and done it in a little better way to say there's going to be 3 sets of properties, we're going to call this the low properties. The low cost properties are going to be somewhere between the range of 2,562 UPEX and 25,000 UPEX. There's blank number of them, and there's blank number that are going to be what we're going to call average properties between 32,000 and 60,000 UPEX. And there's going to be a blank number of properties that are going to be above 60,000 UPEX. If that's the information they wanted to give us so we could plan on how we're going to get in the city, that would have been great numbers. I would have loved to see that. It would have put people in a really great place. If they wanted to give us a number that said, hey guys, we just want to let you know that the lowest UPX per UP2 is going to be about 222 UPX per UP2. The high range is going to be 6,619 UPX per UP2. It's an expensive area, limited area. If they want to give us that detail and let us figure it out as we get into the city, that would have been great too. And maybe they'll do that. Maybe that'll be something that will be in the future. It'll help with budgeting. It'll help with strategy. It'll help with people deciding whether or not to go to a city to mint, because unfortunately, the way this number worked, people took it as an indication, 17,393 UPX, to not go and mint. I personally repeated that concept of this is 17,393 as a low price. We know that our property values or our UPX per UP2 is going to be a certain level. Plan on that by the time you get to the city. That was the assumption that Banana had as well. Somebody who does a lot of speculation on the city releases, and that's what we repeated. So I do apologize. I did repeat incorrect information. I wish I had better information up front. And I hope next time we do this, next time we have a city release, next time we have an expansion, maybe we could do these numbers again. I would love to do them. I'd love to do them in an accurate way, or in a way that's more clear as to what those numbers are. And with that, of course, everything did go pretty well. It was a very smooth release. We didn't have things get caught up. We didn't have things crash. The minting time was pretty quick. I was surprised as soon as properties started minting. We did start to see them on my map, so I had a better feeling for what areas were already minted, as opposed to thinking I was going to send into a neighborhood that was already minted out and finding out the whole place was minted by the time I got there. So I was very glad to see everything that's supposed to work in a city mint seemed to work very well, at least for me. I didn't see a lot of reports of things not working well. The experience can be individual. If you have low internet speeds, unfortunately, that may play a factor. Sometimes we see nodes in some parts of the world work a little differently. But as of today, from my personal experience, everything on the minting went very, very well. We did have, with this expansion in Minoto City, we did have some coastal. We did have some areas that were high interest, high speculation. We had like the city center stuff, the downtown areas, and we just had a lot of areas that were lower cost UPX per UP2 than areas we had previously in Tokyo, which I enjoyed. I was able to get some larger properties so I could put some showrooms into Tokyo. So that's something that I was looking forward to and hoping for. It was something that, as of last night, I did not think I was going to be able to do, but I got a couple. 150 UP2 and up properties, so that I was able to potentially put a showroom there. So that'll be good. And just moving forward here, we still have some events left to do. So collection reveal, like I said, is a week out. Next Thursday, January 25th, 9 a.m. PT. So be ready for that. Collection speculation week is going to happen throughout this week because we did have a vanilla release. We don't know what hit collection. The one collection that we did see pop up on the map, and they did a good job of doing it, was things that got added to the culinary collection that got added, with their rare little denotation of where they were. That was added before the city mint, which was great. People could target those properties. They were already applied, or they already had a multiplier applied for being a rare. So it was really nice that marker was seamless and got added in time for people to plan on those properties, because that was already a revealed collection. It was revealed in the first portion of Tokyo. And thank you, God, for muting. I was working through it, but I'm glad you caught that mute. And of course, what we also saw here was, along the way, we did see that there was a potential of some extension extension of collections, only if they were these curated collections. Being that we didn't have any street collections, we haven't had any street collections in Tokyo. They're either going to be curated collections or they're going to be neighborhood collections is primarily what we're going to see along the way. You're all good. You're all good, God. We're going to see these collections, be that way here as well, with 4 new collections being added. So that's what we're speculating on. Are they neighborhoods? Is it going to be another one of these collections that is a curated collection? We'll have to see how that goes. But again, the big thing here of the collection reveal, we'll get into it again. 8:55 properties get locked that are unminted that hit collection. 9 o'clock reveal happens. Properties go back on the market at about 9:30 if they were held for a collection. For unminted collection once they have been repriced. The Tokyo Block Explorer already happened for the sweetener sale. That's to buy the UPX for USD, getting a Block Explorer as a bonus. But there's a burn event. This burn event is tied in with a Tokyo Special Block Explorer shop sale. You have to have a Block Explorer shop to have the opportunity to buy these Block Explorers. You buy them as a bundle. There are going to be 200 bundles available, 3 BEs in each bundle, $8.99. That registration, the sale happening the 25th, 8 a.m. PT, again next week. Sale happening at on the 26th at 9 a.m. PT. Keynote there, obviously, is this is a lock sale. It's only happening to people who do have a Block Explorer shop. And the keynote here is these are meant to be wholesale. These are being sold to Block Explorer shops so they can be purchased by the general community on the secondary, so people can use them in a burn event. They're Block Explorers. You can keep them. You don't have to burn them. You can use them. But of the 6 Block Explorers there, some are more burnable than others. But then, and they did one more dynamic on this burn that is different than what we've seen in the past. With this burn, we have 3 categories here now. We have the category of the sweetener. You have to burn 1 sweetener. You have to burn 1 weapon, and then you have to burn 1 Tokyo-themed item. The 3 Tokyo-themed items look to be a koi, a fan, and a bonsai. And then we have 3 weapons that were provided as well, or that were Block Explorers in the mix. Those are randomized. And then you and I and everybody else in the public who doesn't have a Block Explorer store are going to go into Block Explorer stores and try to buy these on the secondary. 1 weapon, 1 sweetener, 1 of the Japan-themed item, all burnt together. If you want to get one of these Tokyo Samurai Block Explorers, there are 5 varieties. Because of numbers of the sweeteners, there was 50 of each of the 6 sweeteners. Of these 5, we end up with a maximum of 60 of each. But again, I don't expect that to happen. I expect the actual redemption to be much lower, in that there's a little bit of reservation of people burning certain items. Maybe they'll keep the Block Explorers. There's also just a little bit of barrier to entry, so not everyone's gonna end up with 3. There's going to be some that are trapped in one account or another. People who decide to hold on to items and not to burn them. So we will see what we end up with, what percentage get burned, what percentage get left behind. But that burn is going to be a 1-week burn. Friday the 26th, I apologize, 1 weekend burn. Friday the 26th, 9 a.m. PT. It does run to the next Friday, the 2nd of February, 9 a.m. PT, giving a whole week to get that burnt through. To encourage the burn process, players will need to combine 1 mask from the sweetener sale, 1 weapon, and 1 Japan-themed item. They do have to be purchased from Block Explorer shops sale once they're sold to Block Explorer shops. This combination will level up and grant 1 random Tokyo Samurai Block Explorer. This is the 3rd burn event, but we do like to keep in mind with these burn events, you have to do it right. You have to do it perfect. You do not get the formula right, you don't get the prize. Keep that in mind. Once they're burnt, they're burnt. There was a pass sale. With the pass sale, there was a reserve property for a number of people. There's a number of reserve properties right now. There's 1,000 of them out there, and we don't know for sure who's going to get what. The snapshot's going to happen on the 26th, which means we have some time. But between now and the 26th, when these passes are going to get snapshotted, and those holding the passes are going to have a property reserved for them out of the 1,000 properties that are currently reserved for this pass holder sale. With the reservation, it does not guarantee you any specific mint price. Doesn't guarantee you a collection, though there is a 15% chance that it could be a collection. Doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to put a structure on it. But if you do get one that is going to take a structure, 80% take it, you are going to have a property that will be allowed to construct a custom structure, a structure that was designed only for this mint sale, only for this special pass holder sale of, again, minting the property, being able to construct that property, that structure on that property. And the note there, the key note here as well is we do have a few days to do the mint like we've had in the past. The mint will be between Monday the 29th, 9 a.m. PT. Wow. And then it looks like January 30th at 9 a.m. PT is going to be the closure of that mint period. I apologize. Mint period 26th through the 29th is the correct date. Why did they give us the date of the 29th? The deadline of mint is the 29th. Otherwise, unminted are going to go back on the market. 26th through 29th, over the weekend, minting opportunity. You do have to be in Tokyo to mint your property. If you do have one reserved, you don't know how much UPX is going to cost. But the keynote is, since that snapshot doesn't happen until the 26th, if you decide you want to buy one of these passes on the secondary, you could do so. If you didn't get a chance to get to the original mint, you can do so and buy one of these passes. The one note I like to make on this, it did rear its head in Miami, and I like people to know this ahead. Even though these passes could potentially be a collection, and we did see in Miami some nice collection properties end up in these passes, even though there is an incentive to have the pass and get the snapshot, that special property structure that will only be buildable on those particular properties. These cities aren't minting out necessarily. If you can't mint on the first day, you don't get the premium properties necessarily, the high speculation properties. Those tend to mint out very quickly. If you go into the city today, into Tokyo, into Minato, you can go and you can mint properties. You'll be able to likely, I don't know for sure, but it does seem it may be the case that you may be able to mint in Minato for a couple days or a few days anyways. So taking part in this sale, buying the pass, holding the pass, getting the snapshot, getting randomized one property that you can mint at mint price doesn't seem like a necessity if you want to pick up a property, but you weren't able to get to the original mint. If you travel to the city, you can see what's available. You can mint what you want. As of right now, the mint floor is still relatively low. You can still mint properties in the 20s and the teens in OPEX. The teens and OPEX, teen thousands OPEX into the early 20,000 OPEX area. So there's still time. There's still time to mint properties if you want to do so in the Minato area. But this pass event, again, has its own benefit, that custom structure for the properties in the area on 80% of those properties being key there. The giveaway property, do not forget this exists. I don't want people to mint more properties than they want to just because of a simple contest. But if you're going to be minting properties next week, just do it inside the mint period. January 2nd is the end of this capture period. Get it done. Mint in the capture period. Capture for this contest so you can be part of the drawing. One person will win the Tokyo Airport Terminal, or a Tokyo Airport Terminal. It is international. It is going to cost you 1,600 plus USD if you had wanted to buy it stock and standard from Upland. So pretty big deal to get it as a prize. Each person or each mint qualifies as one entry. Each mint master badge, if you had won in Tokyo and Minato, you would get an additional 25 entries. So that was exciting. That is exciting. That is the big reason to keep minting. If you choose to mint, again, don't mint more than you want to, but know that incentive is there to do it before the second as opposed to waiting till later. Key thing today, I hope I didn't go too deep here on being a little disappointed on the getting the wrong information on what to expect here. It was an overall pretty clean release. I'm looking forward to the future here. Future events here in Tokyo, and it's nice that the Tokyo event is an event. We are a game that started very much, or in many ways, around this idea of minting properties, holding properties, developing properties, and now we build a little more excitement about these minting events. It's not just go mint because they're available. Now there's things to do around those minting structures. So it is fun that we're doing that now. Right here is the one other piece of news that would have snuck under the radar, or could have snuck under the radar if I let myself get too flustered about the mint today. And of course, that is the NFLPA. We talked about earlier the week. The news was coming. Playoff replica showdown here in Upland. Let's get into the context on it after we get into the details. NFLPA playoff replica showdown. Here's everything you need to know to get ready, get in on the action. This opportunity is for us to trial replicas. Again, trial replica functionality. So Upland is trying to use this mechanism or capture this mechanism. What is being done in this particular burn event is not necessarily the same thing as what's going to be done for replicas moving forward. Keep that in mind. But I've got some thoughts on this particular event and the way it's organized. We'll get into them. This event does focus on the strategic use of burning essentials. That's kind of true. I do agree with that. Kind of this idea of how many do I burn and which ones do I burn. We'll see how that works. But again, I'm gonna have some thoughts here about risk versus reward, about you know, the clarity of data, the rapidity of data, the speed at which people can make decisions versus act on those decisions. So we'll get into a couple of those thoughts and how they relay here. But the basics here: playoff memento replica. Replicas are not mementos. They are what would be a memento, a one-of-one event that gets created in a small quantity. What are we looking at? Oh, God is minting a property. Go look at that. Look at that. I told God to mint a large property. He went to a large property. Again, not game strategy or financial advice, but those large properties were much less expensive than we thought they would be. If you need some UP2, you want some space, you want to put a showroom there, and you want to have some space to store stuff. 351 UP2, the right shaped property is enough to do that. So nice to see that you did find a property that has some utility for you there, God. So with this trial on the playoff memento replicas, again, replica is a limited release of a replica of this was a one-of-one event. We're commemorating that in a limited edition. Is it more rare? Is it more special than essential? I agree. I think so. That's what Upland's trying to put out because there's fewer of them. They're tied to a specific event. They have stats that are reflected on them. They have fire stats that get written into them. You can see the stats of the player. It's nice. It's cool. It's a new differentiated product. It is not the same as a memento. Want to put that out there up front for people to keep in mind. This idea, again, is going to be have the same interface that we have with mementos. You can see the details and the game stats. The original memento has a wearable feature. Just like that, the replicas have that wearable feature as well. Keep that in mind. It's not a one-of-one. You still get a wearable. So that's going to be fun. Each playoff memento replica is limited to 10 mints. So again, they're not a ton of the replicas. They're less common, much less common than essentials. So keep that in mind as well. The fan score is calculated at 70% of the original mementos score. So for some people hold mementos because of scoring in different events and contests to have fan points earned by holding mementos. You can get 70% of a mementos fan score on a replica. That's pretty good. That's a lot more than an essential. So if you take a look at that, there is some value to a replica in addition to just a baseline legit collectible. The aim of this particular event we're doing now, is to acquire replicas for every playoff game or the ability to do so. In each matchup, you have the chance to obtain replicas representing both teams involved. We'll get into the details on that. It's how to qualify. To participate and be eligible for rewards, simply burn essentials before the kickoff of each game. It's all about timing. So, this is all well and good. But the who gets what, that becomes a little bit of the quandary, a little bit of the rub. What I don't think is the best thing. Again, it's competitive. It's a choice. The information is up front. Participate as much as you want to do so. The divisional rounds. Here are the divisional rounds. They are going to be your divisional rounds with a window started today, the 18th. It goes until January the 20th, 9 a.m. PT. Again, you have to get in before the games start on the 20th if you want to be in that snapshot, in that competition. The conference round burn window is the 25th of January, 9 a.m. PT to January 27th, 9 a.m. PT. And then the big game burn window, again, we work with the NFLPA, not the NFL. The word we use is big game. The big game burn window is between February 7th, 9 a.m. PT, and February 9th, 9 a.m. PT. Okay. We know that there's 3 separate competitions. The teams that are eligible in each of these are going to be represented as, you could get a a replica from those teams. But let's get into the real specifics here. Scoring system. So this is a competition. This is like a leaderboard competition. You gain 1 point for every essential you burn from the teams involved in that game. This includes team essentials burned from past seasons. Again, team essentials meaning this is a person who was on the team, who's still on the team, who was in the team in the past. That is giving value to our older essentials, keeping in mind our older essentials, many of them cost less than our current essentials do. Some of those early essentials, you could have bought them by category of player, by quality of player. Some of them cost a lot more than current essentials. Some of them cost a lot less. Our current essentials are averages in blind packs, so keep that in mind. But we do know that we do have the opportunity to burn old and new. You can additionally, if a player associated with your burned essentials turns out to be the number one top performer of the game, not on that team, of the game, you earn additional 5 points for each essential you burned of that player. Okay, making sense so far. We're earning points. Okay, now let's get down to the specifics of what we're doing with those earned points. If you burn, and I do have to decide here so we can clarify. If you burn McAfee essentials from Carolina, it will not yield any points for San Francisco. However, you can earn 5 points for each essential burned if McCaffrey is designated as his top performer in that game. These points will be reflected only on the final leaderboard. Essentially, the player has to be on the team that is going to be in the game, either in the divisional, in the conference, or in the big game, if you want to earn points towards that team. The jersey memento of the top player from each team. Again, each of these rounds, there's a top player on each of the teams that compete. Again, our divisional is going to be 8. Our conference is 4 teams. Our big game is only 2 teams that are going to be in there. There is going to be a top player on each of the teams that compete. 10 replicas are issued of each of their memento. So essentially, the best player, absolute best player of each of those games, that's determined by the points, then the way Upland interprets the points, fire stats, essentially. We're going to see that 10 of those replicas are made of that jersey. This is the first time we're ever getting replicas. And those are going to be given to who? Let's get into the details on the who is going to be getting that. The top 10 are going to be issued as replicas. Or 10 of the top 1, I should say, will be issued as replicas. This will be determined based on the number of fire stats they receive. If multiple players qualify as top performer, Upland will make a random selection to determine who's designated top performer. We'll see how that works. Leaderboard. Players can monitor their progress and compare their standings with others on the event leaderboard. I want to be clear. These event leaderboards are not real time. They are not instant information. If you're making decisions on how to interact, how to burn, what not to burn, if you feel safe, if you don't feel safe in your position on a leaderboard, based on what the leaderboard says, unfortunately, that's not an accurate interpretation of that leaderboard. There tends to be enough distance and lag, timing and lag, and sometimes the data can change afterwards because if data was not batched or booked at the same time, you can sometimes see that those scores change even after the closure of the leaderboard. I do want people to keep that in mind so they don't get too surprised if things shift throughout the time. And that does mean, unfortunately, you have to overspend in many cases to be safe. If you think you spent enough and you feel safe, you may not be. Keep that in mind. The final results here, the final results post-game showdown. This is the big one again. The final scoreboard, it combines individual player scores with team points to crown the top 10 champs. These are the ones who walk away with the replicas. This leaderboard will be posted after each round. Again, the key thing here is each team is going to have 10. Each leaderboard is going to be an individual leaderboard per team. Does that seem right? That is the way they're doing this. We've done this before with Team Score Challenge, where we have individual teams, we have a leaderboard, people earn points based on that team. Leaderboards will be added later today. Obviously, they're up right now. Players will have a chance to secure one of the 10 exclusive limited edition replicas of the top player from each team awarded each game. Makes sense so far. I get it. There's 10. There's 10 of each. Only one player is commemorated, and who's going to get them. The coveted replicas will be given to the top 10 players with the highest burn score for that team in that round. When players have an equal number of points, the winner of the replica will be the one who burned the first essential. Okay, fair enough. That's an incentive to burn early. Conclusion. This event is about making strategic decisions under pressure. Will you play it safe or take a gamble on the underdog? Your choices can lead to exclusive rewards and a spot at the top of the leaders. I'll put something out there. It would be cool because of the push here with the people, burning a ton and potentially burning more than they need to. If there was some secondary prize, if there was an overall prize, if there was an escalating prize based on the total number of burns here. And then I want to be very clear, you could be burning a bunch of essentials with no reward. The higher the burn numbers get, the bigger the cost that you had put in to get a replica that you may or may not win. It is important to enter this contest knowing that. It is an opportunity for you to go and test out a burn mechanism and see it show up on a leaderboard. That is going to be nice. It's a chance for Upland to see how this burn mechanism works. It's an opportunity for Upland to put the first replicas in the game of Upland to tie wearables to those replicas. That's nice. And it's nice to have a tournament event. I like these tournament events. Now, here's my concerns with this. My concerns with this is with the delay, which we've seen in the past, with the delay on the leaderboards, people are going to continue to spend or burn legits with an assumption that the burn numbers, the numbers they have on the leaderboard, are accurate, and they may burn a bunch at the end, but they think that they're going to get the score they get and they win, or they don't based on that. With the delay in the leaderboard, that is not always the case. So it is something that I would worry about people putting a lot of extra effort into, and then potentially getting, pardon the pun, burned in the process. They end up 13th, 15th, and they thought they had it. They would have burnt 2 more, but they didn't know to. So that's one part of it. And the other part of it is asking people to burn with a percentage of those people not getting a reward. That's never fun. There's no incentive. There's no additional prize. There's no drawing that says if you burn at least one, you're going to be entered into this special drawing, and everyone you burn, you're also going to be entered into a drawing. So burning gives you an entry. Burning gives you a ticket, and also these people are getting these prizes. I would have loved to see something like that, where the burn means something, where you are going to at least get something small, a ticket into a drawing for, who knows, the real mementos for each of these players. Because keep it in mind, we're getting replicas, not mementos. It'd be cool if the real mementos for those players were going to be available to people who, random drawing. You burn a single, and maybe you get lucky, maybe you get drawn. You burn 40, you have more entries in that drawing. Just a thought. Maybe I should shoot it over to Upland directly, but again, I think they're not going to change this contest after it's been started. And the other thing, the final thing is, with this being a leaderboard contest, you're going to encourage people to push each other and push those numbers up. And I mean, the original concept was it was about 6-1. We were told there was going to be about a 6-1 burn ratio. You burn 6 essentials, you get yourself a replica. We knew the fan points were going to be a scaled down version of the memento. You do the math now, maybe they don't add up. Maybe 6-1 on a replica doesn't quite make sense. Maybe the burn ratio should be slightly higher than that, because we know what the sale price is on a essential versus a sale price on a memento. I'm fine with that. Change the burn ratio. But when we're encouraging people to burn more and more and more, it's like we're resetting that ratio every time somebody tries to one up somebody to get or to stay or to keep their spot in the top 10. You could end up with people burning 20 or 30 in order to ensure that they get this replica. And at a certain point, this 30 too much. I think so. And then now somebody comes in at the last minute and burns 31, and that person who bought 30 to assure they were going to get a replica, now that 30 burn is not going to help them in any way, shape, or form. So keep that in mind, that this is part of this contest. I wish it was done a little differently. Like I said, the one addition that would have made it something that would have benefited everybody would have been a drawing, because at least you knew that each burn of your legit was going to give you something. And here's a key thing here. The other thing I want to put out is know what you're doing. You burn this legit, it's not going to exist anymore. I will tell you where the positives lie for me. The positives lie in the fact that our old legits were significantly affected or devalued by the fact that they didn't have as much fan points, and their fan points were reduced based on the fact that they were older season. The price increase of the current season was great because it kind of changed could have changed some of the valuation of the previous or the older legits, except for the fact that the older legits had less utility. They had less fan points associated with them. So this is kind of a way of rebalancing in a way. You can still get a single entry for burning a previous season legit. Some of those were sold or have been selling at lower prices on the secondary market than it costs to get a 2023-2024 legit. So use case, a reason why people could go on the secondary right now and buy an older legit, older essential. This is great. This is something that gives back some utility or some use case to something that's existed in the game for a long time with limited utility. This is the type of thing I ask for from the team, is when you come up with a new mechanic, make it retroactive. Don't say it's only the new ones. Say we'll do the new ones and the older ones as well, giving benefit to the people who went ahead and believed in the project up front, as opposed to the people who, again, waited 2 years, or people who weren't in the project before, or people who maybe saw them and said, I have to see them come to market before I decide to buy them. There was a lot of people who bought the legits, NFLPA legits, before the images were even available for the first legit. So it's nice to give back to that community of people who put the work in and the belief in up front. So that is positive. I like the idea that they're testing the mechanic in a way that is not the final burn mechanic. It's just to see a couple of the features, which is how does the replica come out, and just have people experiment and work on this burn mechanic, see the burns get calculated and properly read, see that there's multiple burns happening at the same time and the data is correct for each of the burns happening, see that the burns for an individual player are counting towards a team bucket as opposed to an individual bucket, but also counting towards an individual bucket, that it's going into two separate counts. Making sure all of those work correctly, that same back end work is going to be able to be applied for future burn mechanisms, which includes the NFLPA, which may include others. So there's a reason why this is an iterative test. I like that it's an iterative test. And I think that if everything runs smoothly, people are going to be pretty happy with the results in the future being much more smooth. So I'm looking forward to that. I just wish there was a little sweetener, a little random drawing here at the end. And I don't know. I'm going to have to watch. Here's where the strategy comes from. When Upland says this is strategic, underdog, etc., they're saying that if there's not very many people who are burning for that team, go and burn for that team. That's a strategy. It may work for you. I'm looking right now. Baltimore, place number 8, 9, 10, 4 and 3. I've got a lot more than 3 or 4 Baltimore legits. I could go burn those right now. I could put myself on that leaderboard. We just don't know how it's going to end up. And we know with the delay in the leaderboard, I don't always know if what I'm looking at is accurate to the minute, or if it's been inaccurate and somebody has come up, or 10 people have come up in the last 5 minutes and put something down different or to change those results. So that is something, some considerations here. Reality, just go in with your eyes open. If you want to test this out, if you want to compete, if you've got a bunch of NFLPA legits that you don't care about at this point, you tried to sell them, you couldn't sell them, you've seen the value on the secondary market decline, and you just want to get rid of them, this is your opportunity to potentially get yourself a reward for doing so. So good luck to anybody who wants to participate. I hope this is the start of a nice, clean, fun process of burning replicas in the future. And again, I hope that people who choose to enter this do so with open eyes and there's no surprises along the way. And otherwise, as we do get through the rest of the week here, we do have a couple more events on the Tokyo release. We did go over those, so keep your eyes out for those for the next week. And tomorrow, we will be talking. I will be talking with Coach about Evergreen Lasher 7-8, as well as a few other things. A few other projects that he's working on. So I do want to have that conversation tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. As always, at the end of the show, I do invite everybody to unmute their mics, jump in, and be part of the conversation. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours.